Today you're going to be presenting about entrepreneurship. We're going to be looking into entrepreneurship, right?
Correct. That's correct.
Please grace us with your entrepreneurship skills, insight.
Right. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you, Lebo. It is my pleasure
Welcome
to
back,
accept
God.
really this invitation unconditionally. Thank you so much. I want us to have a discussion. It's a discussion
Okay,
on entrepreneurship.
okay.
On our last discussion, when we spoke about the careers basically
Yes.
that are in high demand, we touched a bit by just mentioning it as a footnote from the factors of production.
Yeah, the 4 factors.
That's right.
Yes.
So it was just a footnote where we said, and entrepreneurship is one of the factors of production. So today, let us delve a little bit more into it.
Okay.
It's quite a broad topic. We will not be able to complete the entire topic.
All right.
But let's just look at the fundamentals to understand what entrepreneurship is. Because for me, my belief is if people can understand the definitions and the context under which entrepreneurship is used, then you will become a better entrepreneur.
Okay.
Yeah. You shall also discover that in my presentation, I shall bring out the differences between a businessman and an entrepreneur.
Okay.
Yeah. There are some characteristics that I shall talk about. 3 traits that separate the two. Very important to understand. So if people can understand those particular traits of an entrepreneur, they can become better entrepreneurs.
All right.
They will not operate like business people thinking they're entrepreneurs.
Oh, so these are 2 different things.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because we have got so many people, they are running their businesses like they're business people, but they think they're entrepreneurs.
Wow. Okay.
So you will be able to tell that, oh, okay, if you want to become an entrepreneur, then this is what you have got to look at. We're going to actually touch that.
Let's engage.
So let me begin by conceptualizing our definition of entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship itself is a contested phenomenon.
All right.
So many scholars, they come with different definitions of entrepreneurship. We have the traditional definitions, and then we've got the classical definitions, then eventually we've got the modern definitions brought by some modern academics. So some scholars basically argue that entrepreneurship is the ability and readiness to develop, one,
Okay.
to organize, to run a business, and its uncertainties. Those are other scholars. So when we look at that definition, to unpack it,
Okay.
there is this ability. 1, 2, there is readiness, and they're ready to develop,
All right.
to run, to manage, to organize a business. But to remember, every business has got its own risks.
Yes.
And those kind of people, they are also prepared to take the risks that are involved in running those particular businesses. That is one definition by other scholars on entrepreneurship. Then traditional entrepreneurial developers say that entrepreneurship is basically business creation for them. That also brings about recognizing on opportunities. Because you shall see that the most important thing as we go through our discussion this morning, to be an astute entrepreneur, you need to be able to observe, to identify opportunities.
Okay.
Where people don't see opportunities, you see an opportunity.
Okay.
After seeing an opportunity, you become innovative. How do you become innovative? Take the opportunities you have seen, how do you create it to become a thing that gives solutions? Because entrepreneurs are people who develop things that give us solutions. That's one thing we need to understand.
Okay.
That's why arguments say the richest people are rich because they bring solutions to the people. Identify a gap.
In there, yeah.
After identifying a gap, then how do you bring innovation to bring things into reality, into practice, to solve people's solutions and problems? Then you become an entrepreneur. That is the other definition by what they call the traditional developers of entrepreneurship. And then we have people like there's Prince, Chapman, and Cassie. Those are also academics who then argued and said, no, these are, let us look at all the definitions of entrepreneurship that are brought by other fellow scholars and bring them together. So one thing I love with these particular scholars is from their definition, when they redefined entrepreneurship, then they came up with something they call fundamental processes of entrepreneurship, which was not there from the definitions brought by these other scholars. That's what, for me, set aside these guys as, I love their compelling argument that says, look, your definitions of entrepreneurship, they are limited. Let's broaden it to accept other forms of entrepreneurship. Because most of these other scholars, they would look at the economic forms of entrepreneurship.
Okay.
Then these three gentlemen here, they said, no, there is also what we call the social form of entrepreneurship. So if therefore you are narrow-minded, dogmatic, myopic, you are leaving other people aside.
Yeah.
Because all about social forms is where people sit down to bring social solutions in societies. They sit down, they identify challenges in societies. Now, how do we solve these challenges here? Poverty alleviation is one of them. Poverty alleviation itself is dealt by social entrepreneurs because they look at social issues. So their solutions, they look at social, cultural, and environmental challenges that we have. But of course, one underlying principle, they've got to be financially viable. Yeah, that is no question on that. You've got to be financially viable.
Yeah, we cannot argue that. Yeah.
But of course, you shall see the difference as we go through that the economic form of entrepreneurship emphasizes more on make profits, which is more of what is discussed about the bourgeoisie class, those capitalists.
Yes.
For them is, I want profit at the expense of maybe social issues.
Yeah.
All I want is profit. Now, whereas the social forms of entrepreneurship, they say, no, let's consider human factor here. Let me just bring this argument by Karl Marx. He lambasted bourgeoisies, the capitalists, by saying to them, they make the proletariat, who was the working class, they make, these workers appendages of machines. Because he analyzed a factory. In a factory, as a conveyor belt is passing through, there's some people who just go there to be putting, items on a conveyor belt. The rest of their lives, they just take items, putting them on the conveyor belt, and the conveyor belt takes the items in the factory, right? Someone wakes up in the morning, goes to the factory to work. He goes to his department. He gets a chair or he stands up. What does he do? Take a tin here, put on conveyor belt. 8 o'clock to 5 o'clock. 1 month, 2 months, 1 year, 10 years, 15 years.
Later.
Doing the same job. And this person is basically become like an extension of a machine. If that person is to leave that job or to lose that job, one cannot do anything. Does not even know how to start something.
Yeah.
Does not even know how to hustle. Because all they know was
Just this one thing for the
There we
past
go.
15 years, yeah.
So now, the social entrepreneurs, they argue against that form of just looking at capital. Say, no, 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 don't just look at capital. It is the human beings that enable capital, actually, and forms of, what do you call this, profits to be attained. It is the human beings. So let's consider human beings. Therefore, now we've got this particular social entrepreneurs. Right. So, Prince Chapman and Casey, they further went on to say, from the definition of entrepreneurship, let's look at idea development.
Okay.
You need to be able to develop an idea.
Yeah.
One author said that if you want to know a place with the best ideas is a grave. Because people have got ideas, but they die before they implement it. So if you want to go to a graveyard, if we were going to be able to extrapolate all ideas that these guys who died there, the ideas which they had, I think this entire world would be a better place to live on. Because people had the ideas, but they could not just implement.
Buried with them, yeah.
They lacked this aspect of entrepreneurship from these guys here. Idea development. Develop an idea to a point where you enhance that idea to become a practical solution.
Okay.
You shall also see that successful entrepreneurs are those who are serious risk takers. If I'm a risk-averse person, entrepreneurship is not for you. You've got to go
Gonna be
all
a
out.
risk taker.
A risk
Yeah.
taker. Be very innovative. Be driven by innovation. So, it is very important to understand the argument by this particular gentleman here, where they're saying, let's broaden
Yeah.
entrepreneurship. So many times, our ministers, government people, so many people talk about entrepreneurship, entrepreneurship. We want entrepreneurship in townships, entrepreneurship. But
What is?
it? What is it that they are doing to help assist and educate these guys to understand what entrepreneurship is all about?
Yes.
Like we're saying, idea generation. You cannot develop an idea if you don't have capital. It means money itself. But it's easy for me to go to a certain environment, a community, and say to people, we want entrepreneurs from you guys. We want entrepreneurs. But they don't have that support for them now to take their ideas, develop them into practical solutions that are going to solve their problems and solve the problems of the country. Right. So, these guys again argue and say the definition by those other guys is basically looking at what we call high growth technology centered activities.
Okay.
If someone says, I'm an entrepreneur, goes on the street, maybe cleaning the streets, picking grass, piling it, going to burn it, and then someone says, I'm an entrepreneur, people will look at that person with a different eye. Then someone comes and with tech and say, wow, guys, I've invented this cell phone here. Then say, no, this is actually an entrepreneur.
Than that one on the streets.
Yes.
Yeah.
But as we go through, we shall see the forms of entrepreneurship from these two people.
Yes.
Yes. Right. Eventually, the most important thing that I then take from these three guys here, Prince Chapman and Casey, these are scholars, is what they said the most important thing. Let's look at the underlying fundamentals of entrepreneurship. That's if any business, if anyone does not follow the underlying fundamentals or fundamental processes of entrepreneurship, you will not qualify to be an entrepreneur. Because the results will tell you.
Yeah.
It is about the results. Because now, if I'm just to jump to the difference, one of the differences between a business person and an entrepreneur is a business person all he does is to manage his business. Just make sure that profits are growing
Yeah.
and sustain it. Whereas an entrepreneur goes beyond that. They look at what we call scaling, innovation. When they scale, they make sure that let's develop new products that haven't been there. That's an entrepreneur.
Okay.
They take those risks.
You go
A
beyond.
product hasn't been there before.
Yeah.
They go all out,
Yeah.
invent, innovate, look for the clients, look for markets, take risks. That's an entrepreneur. Whereas a business person feels comfortable. I've got a business. Let me maintain it. Let me manage it. As long as I'm making profit, I'm okay. That is a business person.
That's what you want to see, the profit.
Yeah.
And ordering around.
There we go.
Yeah.
Now, you will then discover that, entrepreneurs eventually have got some challenges of accessing capital, money. No financial institution would want to finance an innovation that has never been seen before. They'll ask you, who else has done this before?
Is our
Do
money
you-
safe? Is that capital safe there?
Is
Yeah.
it going to be safe for capital if we put it show us who else has got this?
What do you have? Yes.
There we go. It's easy for a businessman. It simply takes his financial statement, check your guys are making profits, they go to
Yeah.
this financial institution, then they get funded. Yeah. So you discover that entrepreneurs, they have challenges of capital. And indeed, go to our black locations there. Some people have got brilliant ideas.
True.
But because their ideas haven't been tested on the markets, no one is there to assist them with money. No one is there to assist them with finance. Eventually now, they follow down to the grave. All the ideas, they go. Then you'll find those people, those folks with money, if they can get one idea, they take the idea, then
Run with it.
then they run with it.
Yeah.
Eventually, they're multi-billionaires. And it was a thing that Gogo Dlamini spoke about. But because she did not have access to money,
Yeah, we didn't see it before.
there we go. So that challenge really, I think we need to bring it very clear
Yeah.
to the leadership of the country, government. We really need to bring that very clear. We have so many entrepreneurs level in our black townships
True.
with brilliant ideas. But lack of finance is basically stopping them from becoming what they are dreaming to be. Lack of finance is a challenge
That capital.
because this person is not a business person, is an entrepreneur. That's why now you find people tend now to rush to become business people.
Okay.
Because it's easy. Just have your business, maintain it, make sure it's profitable, manage it. You go to the bank and say, bank, I need extra capital. They will give you. But now let's look at the bigger problems that come from that particular system. Countries will not develop with the business people. A country itself, the economy will not grow if a country is just based on business people. We need entrepreneurs who create very innovative, very aggressive when they go to create these particular products or services. They break the barriers with their innovation. In that way, you'll discover now people begin to consume those goods. The higher they consume the goods, the more funds come into the GDP, the more now our economy grows. You see?
Yeah.
When it grows, I always say, when the economy grows, again, you and I will benefit. We pay our taxes. Their taxes come, they build our roads, schools. I mean, there are some countries right now, Lebo, where education is entirely for free. Entirely for free. High quality education, free. Because those countries, they managed to have taken care of their entrepreneurs,
Yes.
supported their entrepreneurs. Now what is happening here is, us in the third world, we go to those developing countries, we buy
Then bring it back.
Then we bring it here. We're taking out money. We're taking out money. They're gaining our monies.
Instead of generating it here.
Instead of us to generate here. Right?
Yeah.
So, the definition by these three gentlemen here went further to talk about these underlying fundamental principles of what entrepreneurship is all about. And one thing I love with these gentlemen here, they said, look here, entrepreneurship is dynamic. It changes, it evolves with time. Looking at our social context, looking at the economy, how things are running and everything else. You must know that entrepreneurship is not static, it is dynamic.
Wow.
It will change with time.
Yeah.
It changes with the generations. So those are very important aspects of entrepreneurship that will make people to sit and say, okay, in this era, how can I communicate with a person across the sea? That's how people developed all this technology. It started, of course, in the world wars. It was used in war. How to communicate, how to send, bombs, missiles to a spot which they actually generate. They know, I'm going to hit the target right spot on. They could track enemies. That technology now, we're now using it in our cell phones. It's because there was a need. As times were changing, right now, we are in more like the 4IR. Now in this 4IR, we cannot bring old traditional ways of doing things. If you're an entrepreneur who brings that, you will not succeed. But you've got to look at, hey, now in this 4IR, how can I bring innovation that is going to solve our problems? That's what people are looking at.
Exactly.
Yeah. So now, you therefore discover that the definition that was given by the earlier traditionalists, it was narrow. Yeah, that only focused on issues like growth of profits.
Okay.
Yeah, it only looked at recognizing opportunities. And of course, it also looked at innovation. So other scholars, they say that was a checklist tick box exercise of entrepreneurship. The entrepreneurship that is being brought by these three guys here, which is broader, we call it the broadened scope of entrepreneurship. They take, of course, those three elements: opportunity identification, innovation, and risk. We still have gold underground? Will we still have copper underground coal? If now it will be extinct at the time, those future generations, how are they going to be powering? How are they going to be having energy? Remember, energy is like, that's the most important product of a country. It's energy that comes in form of electricity, fuel.
Yeah.
That's energy. So now, 1 billion years from now, what will happen with the way we're so reckless with natural resources?
Now,
So it takes an entrepreneur to sit down and say, you know what? Let me change how things are being done here. It takes an entrepreneur to basically come up with innovation that people have never thought of. So the need for achievement for entrepreneurs is driven by their innovation. Because one innovates a thing to bring a solution. I want to achieve this. I want to achieve this. That is what propels an entrepreneur. Whereas a businessman, profit. As long as my business doesn't liquidate.
yeah.
Yeah. Then the other thing, we spoke about it in passing, the amount of risk-taking. A businessman, those are very risk-averse. Risk.
Yeah.
That's why they are darlings of financial institutions.
Okay.
Yeah. Because if you have to present, it can be a business plan to the bank, they go to check, what are the possible risks in your business? 1, 2, 3, 4. But now, how are you going to mitigate these risks here? That's why you find now people, they lessen the quantities, the types of risks in their businesses. when they go to look for funding in banks.
Okay.
Yeah, you've got to make sure that you reduce the amount of risks
Okay.
that your business will face. And then you find, the committee, that approves finance saying, yeah, all possible risks here have been averted. Let us provide funding. And yet, an entrepreneur is coming up with a totally new innovation that has never been seen before. Now they'll ask, who else has used this particular product here? We are not so sure of your product if it's going to be successful or not. So the amount of risk differs. Entrepreneurs, they've got bigger risks. They are not afraid of risks. Then the third one is about innovation. Entrepreneurs, they believe in innovation.
Okay.
That they believe in that. So remember, these guys would have taken an opportunity. They identify opportunities. If you can identify an opportunity, do your research. Okay, what are the problems that are happening? It can be maybe in our environment. It can be maybe in the distribution of goods.
Yeah.
It can be anywhere. Once you identify a gap, then you innovate.
Within it.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Now, for me now to curb this particular problem or challenge, what do I need? Then you come up with either goods or products that are going to bring solutions that the communities are having, that countries are having,
Yeah.
that companies are having, which is different again from a businessman. They're not so much into innovation. They kind of like buy innovation from entrepreneurs.
Wow.
If you look at the cell phones that you guys are having, so many companies produce systems in one cell phone. So many companies. So a businessman basically sits and buys the skills from the entrepreneurs.
And instill, yeah.
And then now they are there to basically manage.
Exactly.
Just to manage. Whereas the entrepreneurs are out there going all out, innovating, facing risks. Some of them, whether they win or not, but as long as they develop their product and bring it through into the market, then business people take it, then they manage it. Yeah. Maybe, let me jump to my conclusion.
Okay.
Yeah. Then we can have some discussions. While both businessmen and entrepreneurs, they're involved in business activities, there's one thing that I want us to understand, that entrepreneurs, they're characterized by what you call an innovative spirit. That is the most important thing.
We need to highlight that.
An innovative spirit is basically what characterizes an entrepreneur in taking risks. That's the reason why, Lebo, like I said earlier on, it's very unfortunate that in our country at the moment we are not able to support entrepreneurs. Government cannot. Yeah. Financial institutions cannot again support entrepreneurs. But those guys, they come up with something that has never been seen.
And you go for businessman.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So again, you discover that entrepreneurs, they focus on creating new ideas. So in creating new ideas, then they come up with ways on how then are they going to be navigating through all the possible risks they may find within those particular new ideas they would have created for them now, eventually now, to put their goods on the product, on the markets, and begin to make money. Let me say, in a nutshell, let me end here. But entrepreneurship does not end here. It's a big topic that we can always have another day to discuss and talk about
the whole of Career Expo.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And then now we begin now to look at now how then, assuming that you have identified an opportunity, you have become innovative, you come up with a product. Now, how do you navigate building it to a finished product that you take onto the market we shall perhaps look at that next time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. Thank you for being with us, giving us the insight of entrepreneurship. There you have it, Team SA. Thank you so much for having such knowledge in entrepreneurship. Don't forget that if you need to know more about entrepreneurship, press on the link. Follow us on all our media platforms, Team SA Career Expo 2025. And we're still here at ICM. Follow www.icminstitute.org. If you want to link up with more questions about entrepreneurship or Dr. O.T. Nangara, click on that link. And for now, we're going to take a short break. We'll be back. Thank you. Thank you so much.